order. Phyllis, would we have roll call?
Craig Koshaw.
Here.
Bill Carbach.
Here.
Ken Meyer.
Here. You were emailed a copy of the minutes for the Board of Works meeting from September 18th. I have one small correction on the minutes. It referred to Sam Haynes with Can Do Media, and it's Seth Haynes.
Seth.
Just to correct that, yes, Seth Haynes, not Sam. Other than that, were there any other corrections that you guys had?
Nope.
I have a motion to pass.
Motion to pass the minutes with the correction.
Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Hey, Les, since Kevin is here, let's go ahead and do the fire department requirements, and Jeremy and Don, maybe more, all of you, I guess, Kurt. The fire department requires a sprinkler shutoff to be installed on the front of every new or renovated building in which a sprinkler is installed, and that will involve Kevin's building just down the street here. So who's talking on behalf of this?
You are. I guess we all are.
Okay, well, come on up so you can be on the recording. Kevin is here in case we have any questions. That's on already.
It's on already?
Yeah. In case there was any questions. So, Kurt, that's just, I guess...
Well, basically, by code, they have to have a shutoff. And the options we're looking at right now is one, either put it up against the building, which would still stick out onto the sidewalk, or they would have to do something with the structure of the building to recess it in, or third option would be to put it out on the sidewalk, out towards the curb, which would be a lot easier for these guys to get to anyway. But we need to get permission in order to do that.
Yeah, I think putting it out closer to the curb makes more sense because we can very easily put a trash can right beside it or something that's not going to...
It would be in line with the street signs that are out there. It would be in line with the flower pots we have out there.
Any idea how tall it would be?
Well, it's about this tall.
42.
And there's at least three different styles. What this is called, it's called a PIV, or post indicating valve. And what the indicating part of it tells us that the sprinkler is, if the valve is closed, the window will show that it's closed or open. So they're normally in operation, they're open, locked, open, and the open sign shows out of the window. Well, there's three different types, and we talked with Steve, and there's a outside screw and yoke, which is a big wheel with a screw a pipe that sticks out, threaded. Well, that doesn't do a lot for the aesthetic of the building, and you're going to have a pipe sticking out into the pedestrian walkway. The other option was put a PIV in a pit, which really wasn't cost effective for them. Or the standard post indicating valve like Fleetwood or any of those have. It's a red valve about this big around, stands about that high. The crank or the closing is put over the top and locked to the bottom of the post indicating valve. That would be the less intrusive for what they want to do. And it really is, it's intended for the protection of the end user, because if you have to rely on the water main shut off, that could be under a foot of snow, and it's meant to be able to shut the sprinkler off when you have an inadvertent release. So it's not meant for fire control or anything. It's just if you would have a residential head that would discharge and you can't shut that off, it's to minimize the property owner's damage.
Right. doesn't require a no parking area in front of it or anything, does it?
No,
Okay.
'cause it's not like a hydrant.
Right.
It is just
Yep.
simply a shut-off valve.
And you say it's red? I mean, it was...
Red.
It's red.
And it needs to be red.
Is there water coming up this thing?
No.
It's just a valve?
It's
So
just...
it's not going to freeze and break and create
No.
a...
It's simply,
The post indicator just tells you whether it's...
yeah, it tells us whether it's, and it's just a screw
Okay.
that goes down to, just like a hydrant, a dry barrel hydrant. It's just a screw that goes down and opens the valve on their sprinkler connection.
I remember when the Kurt was out there, a representation from Biggs Property Management, and the engineers or architects were out there, show me where it was going to go. Actually, the parking lines that I saw on 2nd Street and where it was going to be located, it was going to be right by a flower pot, wasn't going to be door dings unless we were to change the striping. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, and, you know, it's...
I think all industries have this, and it's usually where the system is fed from.
It's
fed from the
It's
street?
required to be between the main and the sprinkler riser.
Exactly, and do they get their water from the street area?
Yeah, they do now.
Okay. It used to be in back.
Yeah, and that's all gonna flip-flop, the riser and everything's gonna be up front, is our understanding on that.
I think as long as it doesn't interfere with some person trying to park, and, I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
But
Not
but
require much demo work out on the sidewalk area?
No,
Not really.
not really.
I think I believe the water tap is
Right there,
there now, it's a new one.
where we already tore it up, yeah.
Yeah, so it will just go where it's already.
Okay.
Do we want to put a post by it? Less only
Well,
because I'm saying if
no,
vehicles
no.
come over the sidewalk, or over the curb.
No, because if you do have to shut it off, now you have to take the handle off of the valve and you put it on, and now you've got to be able to turn the handle.
Okay.
Similar to opening or closing a hydrant, so.
Okay.
They're made to shear off if a car was in.
Yeah, they,
Any other comments from
Kevin
you?
replacing
Kevin,
that
anything?
too.
Nope.
Pretty clear cut, I think.
we try to make it as
Yeah.
simple for them, and they were talking about an inset into the building, and it just aesthetically,
Aesthetically, it wouldn't
Wouldn't
look
have-
real good, and
yeah.
they've already got a design release on the building. They would have had to have submitted an addendum, which would have cost a lot more money.
so.
And your buildings downtown in Fort Wayne have them in set with the building. I mean,
And
I've seen them.
ideally, if there would have been space, and you had a green space and then a sidewalk, let's put it in the green space, but we don't have that. Unfortunately, we don't have that space downtown, so toward the curb is probably aesthetically and efficiently is the best.
You guys good with it?
Yep.
It's the same thing I looked at, Kurt. Yeah, I'm on.
Motion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, for coming. We'll let you get in and get out this way. Yeah, see ya. Kurt, you might as well stay there, and let's go right on to what you wanted to talk about. Tim's only going to be here a short time. Is there anything you needed to go over first?
No.
Or you want to let him go?
No, that's fine. I do have, Bill had dropped off paperwork to Kurt and Sharon regarding two matters down on Schermeyer Street and Vine Street, so I've got letters prepared with instructions on what to do. Basically, what we're doing is it's similar to the type of letter that we served on Eastbrook a couple weeks ago, but...
Stratford Court.
Stratford Court. And basically, they have until the next Board of Works meeting to abate the nuisance. If they don't, we're going in and doing it. We'll serve them with the cost of abating the nuisance. If they don't pay it, we'll file a lien on their property and collect it as back taxes. So we're giving them an opportunity to clean it up. Bill has sent numerous, in one case, for over 3 years. So we're sending it both to the owners and to the tenants. In the one case, the owners live in Indianapolis, so we'll serve that by certified mail return receipt requested as well as regular mail, and then personally serve the tenant. In the second case, the owners live in the area, so they'll get personal service. So I've got that prepared.
And they're getting everything in those clips right there?
Yep.
All the pictures, everything?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, everything that was sent previously.
Pretty,
My question,
yeah, the addresses on these, Tim, are,
The one address, the property is 1046 Vine Street. The second is 1003 Schermeyer Street.
and my question of you, Tim, is the last Board of Works meeting, you indicated that if it got to the point where the city had to go clean the property up, and there's something, what those people think is of value on the property, we may get into some type of litigation over that.
Take photographs of what you're removing.
My other question is it easier, and this just a question, is it easier to not go in and clean the property up and fine these people? Is there a way we can, since they're violating a ordinance, isn't there some way we can fine them at a $50 a day cost?
You can go to court and get an order establishing a daily fine.
Then you're not getting into problems with taking something of value off their property.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to pursue it this way, then we can go to court and have them cited.
What do you want?
Get an injunction. You're going to have the cost of litigation at that point.
I think it's going to be more expensive on our behalf to go to court than what it would be if we were just to go in and clean it. Because now you're looking at court costs, attorney fees.
It's whatever you decide.
are these two homes also homes that you'd like to have raised, or are these just
No.
ones that you cleaned up?
They just need cleaned up.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the raising issue is a separate matter. I talked to Kurt about that. We're going over to Huntington, and after that, then we'll see how we can proceed. The problem with the properties that you're talking about raising, especially the one, is there's no known, well, and it may be in both cases, there's no known owner. We know who owned it in the past, but there's nothing of record showing who currently owns it. The one case, it's an LLC that it wasn't admitted to do business in Indiana, and where it was formed is now dissolved, so it doesn't even exist. The second case, there were two brothers that owned it, both have died. There was no estate open for either. There's nothing that shows how property was transferred to anyone. So literally, the descendants of those individuals are potentially the owners of the property. And trying to track down that is not going to be easy, because those descendants could be anywhere. So to get notice on either one of these, most likely you're going to have to do a notice by publication. That requires a notice to be done on consecutive weeks, and then you have to wait a certain period of time before you can do anything. So we'll check with Huntington to see if they run into this kind of a situation before and how they
Stop them
handle
right
it.
off the get-go, huh?
But that's, I think, under the unsafe building statute is how you're going to have to do it.
Well, I think Kurt came up with a good idea, and I think he talked to you, Tim. I think what we do is secure the building so that kids can't go in and out of them.
In the meantime, we at least do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to make
a
it.
wheel in motion. I've
Right.
talked with Jeremy. Jeremy's going to send some guys down there to
Yep.
board up the windows and the doors.
Right.
I am, however, I did tell the one has a gaping hole in the roof. Actually, both of them do. I don't want them on the roof. It's been open this long, let it open. I just want to secure it so nobody can physically get in through a window or through a door.
Right.
Okay, you good with all this?
I'm good with all this. For now.
When are you going to
The 10th?
The 10th.
That's our accident.
Yeah. Well, Kurt, Tim, I, and Bill are going to go. That should be sufficient, I would think. And
Just, I guess the question I would have is, I'm not sure how their fire department does, that unsafe structure really doesn't really apply to fire departments, but there has been litigation if you don't correct, if you don't board up, and that's that. Bring back that if you could. Bring
Yep.
back that information.
Put that in on an email to us, and we'll take that with us, yeah.
I would kind of like to know what some other, some other cities do with,
Yep.
with that.
Okay. You good?
I'm good.
You good? I see this land there, you want me to
Yeah,
send it to it on your behalf for the next meeting?
Yeah, well, this is on
Yeah.
the rules and regs.
Right.
So I just made notations
Yep.
of the 3 places that I saw where you might want to make changes.
Got it. Go get them.
Yeah, well, I apologize, but I'm heading out to Cole and Ben's sectional soccer game. So,
As the mayor said, go get them.
yeah,
Tell Cole and Ben to go get them.
Yep, I
Are
will.
they playing lures?
They're playing lures tonight. Assuming they win, they would then play the winner of Norwell and Leo. Leo would be a heavy favorite in that, and we lost to Leo earlier, but we didn't have our full contingents of defenders at that time, so hopefully we can do a little payback.
Yep, yep.
Approve sending the letters or not?
That's up to you, yeah,
Let's do it for the record. Make a motion for these letters to be sent
and serve.
and served.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All
Okay,
right.
if something comes up, you do need me, just call.
Now, don't be calling to get off a speeding ticket getting to Norwell, so just go now and go take your time.
Hey, buddy.
I know you're not driving the red flash anymore.
I'm not.
We get a lot done now.
That's what John Schultz used to say.
I was hoping Scott was coming. They're gonna make the same motion.
Leonard? Leonard comes with nothing but good news, well, almost all good news.
Good evening. Okay. I just got word just a little while ago that we had 2 drug overdoses last night and last week, and both were successfully revived through our Narcan policy. So that program is going really well. So the officers, they get a good feeling when they do that because they are first on scene.
Well,
So-
sure, and they're saving
and,
somebody.
I commended them and told them good job. So the drug problem's still there, but we're still trying to help
the
our
problem.
citizens.
The drug
the
problem
officers?
just continues to get
Correct.
worse.
Len,
Correct.
Can you say who the officers were?
Reed Arnold on both of them,
Oh,
with the assistance of one, Teddy Bestison, and Sergeant Kevin Gerber. So
okay, good.
I'm here tonight to seek your approval to get our 19th guy hired. For the last several months, we went through an extensive process, probably the most vigorous process in our hiring at the department since I can remember. You know, the good old boy system, but now we're doing more as further background checks, polygraph test, everything, home visits, and we found one officer that we would like to move forward and make him our 19th officer. His name is Dan McGill. And we did talk briefly, with two of the 3 present and the mayor's office about this. Dan McGill is 28 years old. He's married to his wife Susie with 2 children, lives in Decatur, born and raised in Decatur, done 8 years in the National Guard, and he is currently employed at Selking International Decatur. Detectives did a thorough background check. Everything checked out really well. We had an interview with him last week. It went very well. And we would like to seek permission to move forward and getting him to fill that spot.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second that, but I recommend them that we hire both people.
Well, I think we're going to cover that next, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so let's just take one
okay.
thing, take one thing at a time.
Sorry.
So
That's okay.
I have a motion and a second to approve hiring Dan McGill to fill that 19th slot. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. As Mr. Korbach stated, that we do have one officer that is going to be leaving. Not by his choice, but it's for a family thing. But he told me today that he's probably going to resign within the next 4 to 5 weeks. So during the interview process with our second guy, his name is Nathan Hunter, and he also passed all background, home visit, anything that the detectives did, very thorough, just like with Mr. McGill. He has good credentials, and no red flags are raised during the background checks and polygraphs. And we have talked to him possibly if he would accept the second spot if the officer would leave, and he said he would love to. His name is Nathan Hunter. He's married to his wife, Hope. They have 3 children. Lives in Decatur, born and raised in Decatur all his life, and currently employed at Zerker's Best One in Monroe.
How old is he?
He is, I'm sorry, I didn't put that down. He is 30, he'll be 30 years old next week. So he's 29.
Okay. So, I think both of you know that the situation with one officer, due to family, is most likely going to accept a job in central Indiana. And he's already had one interview. He's having another interview very soon. And it's just a matter of time. We know that he's going to go.
Correct.
So
He told me that he has an interview parade night, of all things. But apparently he's been talking to the police chief down there, and he's selling his house. He already put a bid on a house down there, so he's pretty much goodbye.
Mhm.
So he hasn't officially told us yet, but I just want to make you aware that we do have a second person that would be very interested, and we are happy with these 2 individuals, very happy.
So what we would like to do is we'd like to have a motion so that as soon as the resignation is tendered, you can make a phone call to Nathan and make him the offer and get him locked up here while
Correct.
this- Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any comments or anything? Nope.
No. not
All in
at all.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. So there you go, Lenny. You're now,
And the next choice is even going to be more difficult, since you started with 18 and wound up with 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you happen to read about Indianapolis, where different police departments, like out in Seattle, are recruiting Indianapolis police officers?
You're recruiting what?
Police officers from Indianapolis, and Carmel is recruiting.
I get emails from bigger departments, and a lot of them right now, I'll give you an example, like Wells County, they're only accepting laterals right now. They need to fill some spots over there pretty bad. And I think the county's in the same situation in the hiring process. Our new reserve, Nick Engel, I told the mayor
Get
about
him in
this this
shape.
morning.
Listen to this. Listen.
Nick Engel was just put on the reserves about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the county hired an individual, but something went wrong during the polygraph test. Nick Engel was second line for that job, so they hired him. So
we just lost our
brand
new reserve
who had
to the
who
county.
had 2 years experience. So I went back a step now. So, and then the female officer that's currently in training in our reserve program, which I'm very excited because I would love to have a female. She's in the running for the Ossian job. So she called me up today, and she passed all physical and testing. So now they're going to go through the background check. So there's a lot of departments hiring, and around here it's I'm not saying it's difficult, but I'm just happy from the pool that we got good 2 local young men here, and I think they'll be an asset with the department, so.
You explained to both of them about the 5-year contract?
We did, actually I didn't, but Detective Bright and Detective Stoltz did, because they have questions themselves about anything. Just like with the officer that's leaving, he's got less than a couple years on, so we'll be getting with the city clerk treasurer on equipment that we've got for him, so he'll be paying the city back a sum of money,
Yep.
so.
Okay.
So is this not just stuff that's all over?
One more question.
Yes,
School resource officer.
yes. He should be out there hopefully within, well, tonight, you're going to meet the 2 new graduates. And according to the sergeants, I think they'll have 1 week of FTOing, and they should be on their own next week. So we'll hopefully have him out there by next week, hopefully.
Okay, that's the plan.
That's the plan, because they were doing FTO for almost 3 months, job shadowing. So
Right.
just like with my son, who just graduated, he's got 12 weeks of FTO before he goes on his own. Our guys have been longer than about 12 weeks before they actually went to the academy, so.
Yep.
Well, Trent told me Friday that he was going out to the school to do some things. So he is
Oh, yeah.
that kind of...
He's been busy out there.
Yep, exactly.
He's been busy
When
out
when
there.
he's able to.
He's been keeping track of when he's needed out there too,
Yeah.
so he's doing a real good job out there.
Right.
Good. Does Superintendent Lehman need to know any of this, that he's going
I
to
have
start
not talked
working?
to him. I would like to talk with some other issues.
I'm
but,
sure you would.
But I have not reached out to him yet. I'm just kind of waiting to see what the sergeants give us. I know Mark told me, Sergeant Cook told me that Luke should be able to go on his own starting next Monday. So Kevin was going to evaluate Dan, so I will have more answers on that. but
Okay. Just keep me posted.
I sure will.
Yeah. Thanks, Lemon.
Thank you.
Les, you want to go next?
Yeah, if council's willing and wants to kind of hear what I'm...
Are they done with the claims?
I think they're kind of done. I maybe invited them, so I
got to talk to you tonight, too.
probably shouldn't talk about active shooter, talk about killing 2 birds with 1 stone, should it?
Before.
Really, tonight, I just really wanted to just share, kind of where we're at with a really kind of a touchy situation that, we've addressed in training, and certainly are addressing in planning. And a pretty important document come out real recently from NFPA, which is National Fire Protection Association, and NFPA 3000 come out. Real briefly, today is the anniversary of the Las Vegas shooting at the concert. I can't think of who the guy was, but
Yeah. Las Vegas.
Today's the anniversary of that, and if somebody would have told me 30 years ago, I'd be sitting here talking about public safety's active shooter plan, I wouldn't have believed you. But we're here. We've worked with schools. We've worked with a lot of combined effort from a lot of public safety agencies, and I have to say right up front that law enforcement pretty much has their part nailed. They've changed a lot of things over the years, but I'm not going to go through all 25 slides, I promise. I just wanted to highlight a few of them, and really I don't think I'm asking permission to take this as more of just information, because this really is if we want to be effective in a community, this is kind of the direction that we have to take. So, NFPA 3000, it's a standard document. It's not a law, but certainly if Mr. Baker were here, he'd say that if we were to be litigated, under litigation, that this would be the standard that we would be held to as to what we did did right or we did wrong. And I'm not going to give you the whole details of our active shooter plan because some of those have to sort of be kept stealth but I'm just going to scroll up here through a couple of the slides that were presented to Kevin Wellman and Jeff Sheets and I at our emergency response conference. If you look at the incident locations, incident location categories, we certainly have all of these in our community, from commerce, education, open spaces, government. Gives a percentage of where the active shooters have taken place since 2000 through 2016, and these are statistics compiled by the Department of Justice and the FBI and those agencies. So, you know, I guess I put a note here to myself that incident location categories, we have all of these, from houses of worship and residence, government, open space, education, commerce. They're all here, and I think a lot of times we focus our effort on active shooter in a school, but these are incidents that could take place in any of our industry. You know, there can be a hostile environment anyway, or any place. So I think our real goal is to make sure that as public safety, we're not responding to North Adams one way or South Adams another way, or formula or those, that when that call comes, we're going to do the same thing every place, every time. And law enforcement does pretty much have their part nailed down. They're going to send people in to isolate the shooter, and this is where we've always kind of floundered in that what do fire and EMS do? Well, after action reports have been done on all of these shooting incidents, and they identified some of the key issues. Communications being interoperable, we can talk to one another on radios and through other devices. Probably the two big ones, the two next bullet points: no responder integration, and just simply waited too long to treat the injured. And those are the two that NFPA 3000, I think, has really helped us. But it's also, and I think it was the important thing that I wanted to share with Board of Works and Council, was we really are starting to ask firefighters to take on a role that is a little out of their realm. For the outsider looking in, you think, well, what could be any more dangerous than running into a burning building? But we, in that situation, are training, working as part of a team. We've never really, as as firefighters and medics, worried about being shot at before. So this really puts us in sort of a precarious situation, because it's really out of our realm. But the RTFs, the rescue task forces, I'll talk about here in just a little bit, but some of those bullet points, really the public had no idea to what they should do. So part of it is we need to educate the community. I think we need to get out of the mindset that this is Decatur or Adams County and this kind of stuff can't happen here, because we've already identified that we have we have those locations and those categories where these happen. So really the main tenets of what NFPA identified was community, the whole community, public ed, making people aware of what they can do to protect themselves and the environment. We have to be unified as public safety in our command structure, and we have to integrate a response that is best for the community and the victims. And then certainly there's recovery after the fact. So we've already identified that we have the risk, and we have, I would have to say, we've probably concentrated most of our efforts with the 3 public school systems, but we need to think outside the box a little bit more than that when we analyze hazards and risks. with that. So incident management, we simply, as public safety, we have to co-locate and work together, size up the incident and stabilize it as best we can. What we found out through the after action reports is that about 50% of all of those people that have been injured in an active shooter, if they could have been, they bled to death. Very, very simply, bled to death. And you can bleed to death in under 3 minutes, and so we just can't allow these victims to lay in an environment for hours and expect that casualty count not to be high. So kind of in a nutshell, what we need to do, and tonight there's a group that are already in training for this, involves police officers and firefighters that are being trained to manage the rescue task force situation in a warm zone. So it's 2 police officers, 2 firefighters. The firefighters, and this is county-wide firefighters and county-wide police officers, the firefighters are taught 3 things. All about bleeding control, packing a bullet wound to stop the bleed, stop a sucking chest wound, and to apply a tourniquet as needed to stop the bleed, and possibly airway management if it can be done very simply. So what we're training for is to train firefighters and police officers to work together in a team of 4. The police officers provide protection for the rescue task force, the other 2 members. Those members would carry enough equipment to, each one could probably treat about 4 people, and they would move on, and then the victims that needed to be transported out would then come out into the cold zone, what's called a casualty collection point, and then this would be actual EMS role, is to get these people transported to level 1 trauma centers where, because Adams County, unfortunately, they're able to handle about one bullet wound. They've got, so these people are going to be going to Lutheran and Parkview and Muncie. So EMS's role is transport, triage, transport, and so that's what their role would be. So using, you might ask the question, why aren't we using medics and why aren't we using paramedics and people from EMS as part of the rescue task force? Is you're taking way too many people out of the equation that now can't offer long-term care in the back of an ambulance or in a helicopter to a level 1 trauma center. And EMS is very good on their part of knowing, they're going to be the ones making the phone call to Parkview and say, hey, we've got 5 people with severe gunshot wounds. How many can you take? Parkview can take 2, Lutheran can take 2. Got 5, now one's got to go to Methodist or to Muncie or wherever. But that's all done cold zone, triage, treatment, and those types of things. So that's kind of the hurdles that we have a little bit. Our coordination between law enforcement's very good at what they do, but they're used to working in a kind of a by-myself environment. So sometimes, not that they're not team players, I don't want to insinuate that, but they know what they're going to do on their own, and sometimes coordinating, Lenny, is sometimes coordinating police into this has been a difficult task around the nation. So, doing a better job of training, working together. But here's what the law enforcement responder competencies, and then the competencies that we're working on tonight while we speak is fire and EMS being able to operate, doing the basic, very, very basic things that they need to do to extract the victims out to the cold zone, and being able to integrate with law enforcement. So, this brings us eventually, and I guess why I wanted to do this informationally is, eventually we're going to have to come to the terms to budget ballistics protection and body armor and those types of things for firefighters, and those would be the ones that would be members of the rescue task force. So those are some of the requirements: body armor, helmet, that meet the standard. Training, certainly, this has been a key issue for a long time, because this standard has really kind of been the missing link of what we needed to do to really nail down our ASHER, active shooter hostile environment response. So I think it was always kind of unclear what fire's role was. We're going to block traffic with a big red truck, and what else are we going to do? And some of those things are now more clearly identified. And the public education part, the schools have changed what they've done. Early on, it was try to get all the kids into a room and barricade the room as best you could and tell the kids stay away from windows and doors. Now we've come to find out that it really teach survival strategies of run, hide, fight, and that would apply to somebody coming into this room or to any kind of event. That's what works. Run, hide, fight, and then our part, the bleeding control, and we've even done programs in the schools to control the bleed, teaching students how to control the bleed, apply a tourniquet. There's shoestrings and belts and everything else that you can use in order to do that. And if you can, managing an airway. But bleeding control, that's critical, and all the after action reports state how critical bleeding control is.
So that is being taught to students?
Being taught to students, because it's just, if they're able, first it's get out of the way, but especially if they're shot themselves, is at least be able to put a tourniquet on themselves.
For a while, we've been keeping objects in the classroom that you could throw, like a big brick, a bat, those kinds of things.
A lot of old teachers of my era had a paddle on the wall, which wouldn't be a bad idea, but we've even suggested fire extinguisher. A well-placed fire extinguisher of an arm through a door can break an arm very easily if it's used right. So whatever you can keep in your room where you as a good person could use as a weapon against a perpetrator, it's kind of fair game at that point.
Les, is this NFPA informational type outfit, or are you mandated to do what they're telling you to do?
It's a standard, and so...
But I'm saying, is it an informational type thing, telling you this is the proper way, or this is our suggested proper way?
Yes.
But it's not mandated?
No.
Okay.
Now, there are some states that are NFPA states that, but this document came out very quickly. Normally, NFPA takes several years and it goes to committee and it's researched, but this was in such dire need for direction that this really kind of come out without all of the committee studies. I'm sure it'll be revised, but it is kind of what we're going to be sort of held to. And then it mentions some other things, but I really just felt that as we've already started to move toward this, that council and board of works really need to be up to speed on this. And
that bleeding control that's being taught in the schools, is that being taught as part of a curriculum in a health class, or?
Right now we just at North Adams, it was done in a 20-minute segments where there were a lot of responders that just had 20 kids, and they were taught in a 10-minute little breakout, stop the bleed. And that is kind of becoming more of a nationwide again, kind of a standard with that. One last thing is, I know most of you will probably be invited to a data casting event through Adams County Emergency Management on October 24th. This is going to be sort of a dress rehearsal for the RTF members that are currently trained. The data casting is more about camera school placement and that video feed being able to go to the dispatch center so that information can be relayed to any device that has an encryption device called a dongle. And Channel 39 has offered as a beta test at Adams Central that they're going to take they've already placed the camera equipment. We did some testing. Channel 39 has extra channels that they don't use. What they're going to do is they're going to be able to broadcast video, live stream it to a mobile data terminal. Here's where the guy's at shooting, so that police officers can see this, dispatch can see it. That's what really the big hoopla is about. But for the locals, it's going to be a walkthrough dry run of whether we can make these RTFs function as we needed. So
The status of the system that we used to have like that in our
the
schools.
fireworks program went away when the funding went away, and the school systems have been reluctant, and there were also some IT problems with a lot of problems with IT cameras or IP cameras and some of those things that it just was archaic. Mike Brown said that the IT infrastructure was archaic when it was put in, and it was already kind of at end of life. But
things are archaic as soon as it's put in.
the schools have been reluctant to pick up some of the cost on the pure video feed that it takes, that encrypted video feed, because you just don't want everybody to be able to.
Well, no, it has to be a special.
And so hopefully this is going to be an option with Channel 39, and being able to do that. So I guess I'd encourage everybody there's going to be a lot of invited guests from the governor on down. Barbara Lehrman's invite list is probably 100 people deep. It's going to be a big deal for PBS and John Hopkins University, who's been involved in the scenario and the camera stuff. But I'd encourage everybody to try to attend the event, and I'll send an email out as to times. I think 1 to 4 is the exercise, and you'll be able to view it on a terminal, and we're making provisions so that everybody's going to get a chance, hopefully, to see what PBS is going to be able to offer to the school. in this, but it will kind of be our little dress rehearsal, so I don't want to take, all your time, but I just felt it necessary to bring everybody up to speed on where we're at with what I feel is a really important issue that we're addressing, and fire departments are kind of stepping into just a little bit out of our comfort zone, to say the least, is putting people into a warm zone where they could be shot at. So there's no
There
question.
is a day of training at Purdue Fort Wayne on the 22nd of October for Rescue Task Force Awareness and Bleeding Control. This is a free training. It's put on through the Indiana Department of Ed, Allen County Safety Coalition, the Sheriff's Department.
Is Mark Latwinko teaching the class? Because Mark has been instrumental
I
in...
don't see that here.
The first training was the Saturday of after the spill, and so that was their first 8-hour, and now tonight is their actual movement training, where how they're going to move as a task force. So tonight's a little more hands-on, but is that open to public or just...
Yeah, it's the audience, yes. You have to register through the Department of Ed, but it's for school people, it's for resource officers, law enforcement, first responders.
Yeah.
We put one on last April, and usually it's once a year. This time I've added one in October.
And the school resource officers have all been through pretty much the basics of this, but I just felt it was necessary that that everyone knew where we were kind of headed with this, and that it is a little bit right now. For the current firefighters, it's a little bit like, but 10 years from now, the new guys will be coming in, and it'll just be part of their ongoing training, and it'll be much easier transition than as it is now. But
I don't know if you use professional growth points, but they offer that through this too.
through,
This training,
yeah,
yeah,
so.
CEUs.
If anybody's got any other questions, but I know you've got some other business to attend to.
Thanks, Les.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me the time.
Okay. Next up for the Board of Works meeting is the salt bids that we have. And, the first thing we would have to do is make this a matter of record that we advertised.
Yep, in the paper.
Yep, the salt bids.
Shooter to salt bids.
I saw that. I'll make a motion to accept that, so.
Second. Motion and a second to make this a matter of record. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? In Tim's absence, I'll open these.
Do you have
I do.
his tool or?
Tim never seemed to know how to use it, though.
Yeah.
Which we'll open these and we'll read them, and then we'll give them to Jeremy to take them under advisement.
You want a knife?
Nope, no good, got rid of this. First one is from Compass Materials out of Overland Park, Kansas. Compass Materials, Inc. graciously appreciates you allowing the opportunity to bid on your 300 tons of street salt for the city street department requirements for the upcoming year. Regretfully, we'll be unable to submit a bid. They sealed it, put it in a FedEx, and sent it that way, just to say they're not bidding.
No, thanks.
They want to stay on the list.
That's the deal?
Mm-hmm.
No, thanks. Usually there's only, what, one or two, isn't there?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Looks like the next one is from Graham Feed Company out of Terre Haute.
This is who we use currently for the self-control.
Graham Feed Company. I'm just going to read that. I'll let you do all that. I'm just going to... 300 tons of bulk water conditioning rock salt at the price of $125.60 per ton, total of $376,800. Is that all they'll bid on?
Yeah.
Street?
No, that's softening salt.
Oh, it is?
And it's 3,000 tons.
3,000 tons of bulk water conditioning salt. There you go.
One would be 3,000, one would be 300.
This might be another no if it's in small envelope, huh? This is from Morton, out of Chicago, Illinois. Thank you for submitting no bid on either or. Cargill, out of North Olmsted, Ohio. This says it's sealed bid for street salt. Street salt.
Well, what the heck?
They sent it back empty.
What the heck?
Is that their way of saying no bid?
No, they're that way sometimes.
That is odd. Is there anything on the front?
Cargill and current de-icing technologies, we transitioning Sam to Cargill incorporated salt road safety to better reflect our mission to protect lives and enhance...
Please remain- Oh, yeah, it's saying no, retain our name on the bid list. Yeah. Hold on.
They're back out on the open market.
This one feels like it's got something in it.
Sometimes that works out better anyhow.
Good choice in there,
Do
yes.
that a lot of times.
Midwest Salt, out of West Chicago, Illinois. It's both. Are you chloride conscious?
No.
Okay, a contractor bid here, 3,000 tons of salt for water treatment system, $116.66 per ton. $116.66 per ton. And then they have 300 tons of street salt for the sum of $141.50 per ton. What did we pay this year, you know?
That's about twice as much.
I was gonna say, that's high. Now, the other one might not be too bad.
Have to really get into the beet juice.
Might have to make our own, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we need to start raising beets again.
You vodka base out there, maybe we can start drinking.
Yeah.
Is that pretty successful? Yeah.
From Detroit Salt, out of Detroit, Michigan, up to 200 tons of bulk road salt, see attached addendum, $97.49, that's better, but they only give us 200 tons, and then you gotta see the addendum. Addendum, this agrees to supply 200 tons of salt. Specifications are salt ASTM D632, type 1, grade 1. And that's all they bid on was that. Not,
Made and nothing except them both then. So then there's 200 ton. Burn up the 200 ton and then buy the higher price salt or get those.
so what we've done in the past is just accept them all so we can use them all if need be.
Sometimes.
Cargill out of, where are they out of?
I don't think we have any salt before, but everything else we have.
Philadelphia Road, White Marsh, Maryland. Conditioning salt. Didn't give a quantity, but it says $118 a ton.
That's water?
Yeah, it's softening salt.
Yeah.
Bulk conditioning salt requirements, but didn't say how much, I mean, how many tons or whatever.
Is that all it is?
Well, then here's, Zeolite Water Treatment System, City of Decatur. 354, no, that's just the total, 354,000, okay. All right, Jeremy,
Next meeting.
next meeting we'll do it.
Yeah, make a motion to give them to Jeremy and have him put them under advisement,
Yep,
report next meeting.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. That's done. Jeremy, you might as well stay up here, the rest of the meeting's yours. Hey, Melissa? Jeremy wants to, has a couple things. One about doing some work from our water bond that we've got. These are suggestions. No.
Okay.
Just read it and listen to it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jeremy.
Including in our original water bond that was presented several months ago was 3 separate projects. The one project is a main connection out on 500 North from Deer Run to Oak Grove. Basically, the main goes out so far and stops, comes in so far and stops. We identified that project
Where's
as
Oak Grove? Is that the one that,
500, that's where Bill Crone lives.
Bill Crone, yeah, okay, gotcha.
We identified that one as a very essential need due to being able, if we had trouble in the south parts of the city, that we could close some valves and run the water back around that way. We would have been in a better situation 5 years ago if we would have had that line in when the main line broke. It's just kind of a little section there that was never put in due to that area not being developed. The second one is High Street from Grant. There at the old hospital, headed south. That was it's always been a real problem area, a real hot spot for us. That is a total main replacement, fire hydrant replacement, water services and such. And the third is the Homestead Edition. which has been a very hot spot over the years, is main replacement in the whole Homestead Edition. We've been reviewing the plans drafted by Midwestern probably for about the last month or so. Being that it is included in the bond, we would like permission once we get the bid specs and stuff tightened up to go ahead and get that out for bid.
On
Ninth Street, how far out does that go to?
This is my exact question I was going to...
It would go, currently, the main actually goes out to the KFC, and then it downsizes off the end of that main, and there's a 2-inch line that runs out to Denny Johnson's.
So it doesn't go clear out to 33?
No. What we're looking to do is just doing away with that 2-inch altogether, replacing the main all the way out past Denny's. We'd have a fire hydrant on the end of it, it'd be a good blow-off, clean-off point. And it would also improve the water quality and pressure in that area.
So how much farther to go out to 33?
It wouldn't be real far.
Okay, a mile?
No.
Not even that?
Quarter at the most, 8.
Okay,
Quarter to 1/8 of a mile.
okay.
And we'd really have to, we just base these off of our project numbers. So if we see that the projects are coming in earlier, we could look at that and extend
Because I was
that
thinking
one
of
out a little bit
future
further.
development out that
Yep.
area.
So the one on 500, does that actually close the loop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You've been talking about that for a while.
We've been talking about
Right.
that one. We've just never had the cash. There's about 3 or 4 of those areas
On High Street, too.
we need to do that in. We've just never had the cash
Need to be done, Tyler?
to be able to do that.
Having that loophole.
There's...
It's gonna tear up your neighborhood.
At this point.
Well, is there 2 loops that are going to be closed, the one at Homestead and the one at 500?
The one at Homestead's just a main replacement.
Okay. Is it in a loop now?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's very poor. They're well under pressure.
When you say the main replacement in Homestead, are you talking to all the homes,
Water main, all the hydrants, and all the services up to the...
all the way around?
Yep.
Do you need a motion?
Well, and what you want to do is you want to put this out to bid.
We want to get permission to put it out for bid once we get everything tightened up a little bit more.
Right, okay.
It's in a review process. Before we meet again, it would basically be finalized where we could
Put it out for
give
bid.
Midwestern the guidance to get it out for bid.
I'll make a motion that we allow him to finish with the study and prepare it to be put out to bid.
And this is a very good time of year to be getting it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Excuse me.
second that.
Excuse me, a motion and a second to give Jeremy permission to finish things up and get this out to bid. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And Jeremy, while you're here, you want to talk about Riverside Center roof.
The Riverside Center roof has kind of been a problem for us for the last few years. I know Tyler's had his guys out there a few times doing some repairs. Another local contractor's been out there, or a few contractors have been out there over the years doing some repairs. It's just time to throw in the towel and replace the whole roof. I've talked with the park board. We have actually included in next year's budget to just put a metal roof on the whole building. It has a combination of different roofs on it. Some rubber that didn't quite turn out like it should have. That's been a real problem over the kitchen for the last few years. And then some other ventilation areas that have slowly been taken care of.
Is that flat?
It's not real flat, but it doesn't have a lot of slope on it either.
I mean, with the metal suffice?
Yeah. So, in talking with Phyllis at budget time, we had budgeted $40,000 for that replacement. The numbers were taken out of the budget due to our caps, and then Phyllis went back and looked around and found some money to actually do the project this year. It is currently leaking in the kitchen. It's leaking in 2 lights at this point. We've had it resealed a couple times. It's slowed it down, but it's still leaking. I did solicit 2 quotes. and the quote come back today at $36,400 from Extreme Builders.
Have you used them before?
Yes, we have on some other little park roofs, and we've used Tyler in the past on some.
I think Extreme Builders even did a wastewater treatment.
Correct, they did. It really kind of fits in their schedule at this point. They can do it here before we get into the rainy season.
You have to do a better job than they did on the waste treatment plant then.
You need a motion?
I'll tell you. Yeah, need a motion?
A motion to,
What's that? I don't know. I'd have to find that out.
you want us to wait till we find out, or you want us to say, make a motion?
He's got details here.
Oh, is it
I don't
details?
think it has the fasteners on there.
Show it to Tyler, see if he can.
That's the other bid.
This is like a
Steel roof.
metal, not like tile looking.
No, it's
Not like a
not.
fire station.
Well, I mean, I guess we can make a motion that he makes the decision, allow him to continue on with that.
It is.
It's one resealing screws, which that price is $40,000, but if you want the hidden fastener, it'd probably be $60,000 or $80,000 probably. Just the difference in the cost.
Does it last longer, Tyler?
There's different opinions out there. I mean, you're putting a rubber gasket on a roof, and there's going to be 40,000 screws in that roof with 40,000 rubber gaskets that you're... They do it all the time. I don't know.
What kind
Does
of
it overlap?
What kind of time do they
The
give
metal
you?
does, but you're still putting that...
How many? What's the warranty?
He said he was anticipating 40 when I first started talking to him.
40 years?
Yeah.
Is he going to be around for 40?
Well, that right now, that's a limited liability anyway.
Our radio's gonna be around for 40.
You like that, right?
Well, it's a limited liability anyway, right?
Where's the other one?
I would make a motion that we let Jeremy
Go ahead.
take this under advisement and make the decision on the type of roof if budgeted for.
Well, I think the roof's leaking now, so we probably should.
Like a sprinkler system in the kitchen.
Do
and different
something.
Wait a
things.
second.
When they
I don't think you want to hold off much longer.
What's that? I made a motion.
Okay, you made a motion to go ahead and proceed?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye, opposed? You're good to go.
Okay.
I said under the advisement of Jeremy.
Right. Right. That's all we have on the agenda. However, if Rod would like to maybe just kind of preface what we're going to be talking about at the council meeting, it might be good. You got something else, Jeremy?
They had that the sound system that we're gonna discuss.
Go ahead.
Real briefly. Ken and I have talked numerous times on the sound system for the plaza. We've been going back and forth with Innovative Concepts. They were the original designer for that system. And there's been a few little changes due to some better equipment that Chris has come up with, some better speakers and such, and just the change in the technology in the last year since we first started talking about it. He does not have a nailed down number at this point. He was supposed to have me one for this meeting. He called me at 5 o'clock today, and we're going to meet on Friday and meet with his vendor and look at some of the speakers that he has. He's real confident he can still do it around his original cost that he presented about a year ago. But anyhow, to make this as short as possible, if you take this whole project and retail everything out, if they were to charge the full amount, you're looking at about $50,000 for this system. What Innovative is going to do is through their portion of the donations towards this project and with their supplier, what they're going to do is the supplier is actually going to sell a lot of these, this equipment as a demo to Innovative. When you sell a lot of this equipment as a demo, there's a 50% discount on that equipment. It's brand new. Basically, they're taking it out of the box. They're going to show us on Friday what it is, how it works and everything. And he's going to leave it there. Chris is basically going to purchase it, the 50% off. So what that's going to do is that 50% discount on a few of those items, plus Chris's in-kind service and his donation to the community, you're going to be right at about $30,000 for the whole house.
Talk to you about in-kind.
The original quote, I believe, was, he said it wouldn't be any higher than 30. I think his original quote was right around 25. 24 to 25, right in there. So we're just within a few thousand of his original quote. Going backwards a little bit, in April when we first started talking about budgets, and we were talking about this project, do we put it in the budget, or are we doing it now? You guys had indicated that we would put it on hold, but at the same time, if the money come available, we would look at doing this project. And with Innovative being the only one in this area or the town that would, or the city here that does this work, that you waive the requirement on the purchasing ordinance to go with Innovative.
Yeah, and you did check, like Sweetwater Sound. They can sell the system, but they don't install.
Correct. I did talk with an engineer up at Sweetwater, and they said, we'll sell you this stuff all day long, but it's going to be your responsibility to put it in. We're not putting it up. We don't have that kind of expertise, so.
I think we should come up with some type of a signage or something to show where Chris is donating.
Yeah,
or give him some publicity.
He's going to need some recognition on it.
Exactly.
He has a lot of time in this and a lot of hours.
Right.
I'm very interested to see what they have come up with, and his, like I said, his dealer is going to be in on Friday, and then he was going to call me, and I was going to go out and meet the dealer and figure out, listen to the speakers and look at what he has.
Like you said, he's put a lot of time in this whole project. He was working on this 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So
basically, what you're looking
at a store.
At a store. Basically, what you're looking at is about 4 to 5 weeks for installation once he orders everything, and the material is probably 2 weeks out. So I guess the question at this point is, do you want to set a max amount? Do you want to set to $30,000? If he comes in under the 30, we go ahead and do the project, or do you want to wait and come back in 2 weeks and actually give you his...
Let me interject then also about the financing. The money we had budgeted for the plaza, with exception of Primco's retainage, I think we're pretty much out in our coffers. However, we also had the monies that were donated through a capital campaign back during the stellar years, and we were counting on using that money for the plaza as well. And rather than using it first, we've kind of been using it last. Like today, we okayed the payment for the 4 more benches that we're getting in. Jeremy also ordered some Edison lights to hang down there. That we okayed that, and that's going to be paid from the community fund. And last balance that I got, which was a couple days ago, we have like $181,000 in our account. So what I okayed today, and with this, even if it is 30, there's a couple other things that we'd kind of like to tend to on the plaza to finish it up. One being the overhang over the restroom. It's kind of nasty looking. Jeremy's looking into some options for that. And what else did we talk about? Those
the lights, the sound, and the canopy.
Yeah. And that one where it's missing the, looks like
the vent.
The vent, yeah.
The vent, which we have.
Yeah.
And then I would like to put a couple more cameras up on it, but that's real minimal. We have a couple dead spots.
So we're coming to a closing point. I mean, the sound system is really the last rather large expenditure. What money is left in that account when we're done with this, I would like to roll over into the Hannah Nutman
Right.
Fund. I mean, it's donated funds going toward a capital project.
And it was originally positioned for all the projects that were sold for downtown, including the finishing of the streetscapes. So taking the money that people put towards that, towards it,
Hannah Nutman, no good.
I don't know. Yeah. Not why people gave that money to begin with.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just for capital
Well-
projects and didn't realize it was specifically to
That's what it-
Madison
that's what
Street and
they were-
streetscapes.
That's what they were, what we went out and asked people for, was those projects and what it was for. Now, it doesn't mean that it's limited to it, I mean, it's ultimately up to the people, I mean, the group of people that control or have say on that fund.
I guess you make sure when everything's done, you could possibly use it at that point. Would that be right, Cam? I mean, when you're pretty much...
It's for capital campaign, plain, simple.
Yeah.
But I just think you gotta be careful about that money that was donated to that account, and the people who gave that money. It was, I mean, Hannah Nutman was like a phase 2 or phase 3 project when it was presented to them. So,
We'll talk about that later.
It's something to think about,
phase
yeah.
1 projects have not been completed.
So I guess the question is, do we want to approve this thing for the sound equipment on the plaza tonight?
Up to 30,000, Jeremy, is that what you had?
I would say, I'm confident it's gonna be under that, but
I'll make a motion.
that's a number that we
To give
discussed
approval
tonight.
for-
You got a motion
A second.
and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I got a couple of things for Jeremy, yeah?
Go ahead, you got 5 minutes.
I got 5 minutes? Two things, Jeremy. The wall,
4 minutes.
have you got anything back on quotes on the wall?
Working on that.
Still working on that? I noticed that you got the trash containers. You bought 4 of those,
Yes.
and they look nice and everything. Just curious, Matt, how is your downtown campaign? Are the merchants, have they been...
Well, after the last meeting, I contacted Jeremy with what's this going to look like to present to them. And he come back with he had money in his budget for 4, and let's see how it goes from his sanitation department.
Oh, so you haven't approached any of the
So I
retailers?
have not approached the additional yet. He wanted to try it for 4. And he said he had money in his sanitation budget.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
Okay, I'm just curious.
that's where we are.
I just wondered how the merchants were, if they were receptive. Are you going to continue,
Eileen liked the way they looked.
are you going to continue for more, or?
If Jeremy wants more, I guess was the question.
Let's
So you want to
not,
try it with 4.
it's not a Jeremy thing, it's us.
We need more, and I did
Yeah,
actually order.
I thought he said 4, he could get started, but I thought we needed more yet.
So you did order more?
I did order
Do you
some
have
more,
the
but-
money in sanitation budget, or do you need?
Well,
I'll be happy to solicit, but
It'll get paid through his sanitation budget, but if it's a matter of, you said you would go solicit some,
Yeah, I just,
okay, then I will hit up those that I mentioned the last time, because here's what they look like now. We need more of them, in our opinion, okay?
And it's $5.50,
$5.50 per, okay?
plus a little bit in shipping, but it's $5.50 per container.
and I think we should, the people that donate, I think it should be, they should get some notoriety that they, somehow, if we could, so.
Does this have the recycling in one side, the trash can in the other, or is it just one?
They're just-
Okay.
just trash.
At some point, we may do the recycling in a couple key areas.
Sure.
But they're the same quality as what's on the plaza, correct? Same manufacturer, whatever, they look good.
One thing we did look at, and we'll throw this out to you, is as high as those trash cans are on the plaza,
Yeah.
with that base on there, would anybody be...
I'd rather have them
if we
gone.
Take that base off the
The
bottom
tall ones, just because...
and just set them on the ground,
If that could be done, that would be great.
because they're very difficult to get the bags out of.
Yeah.
Okay, explain why that base is there. We don't know, Don, why is that base
I
underneath
think it's
his...
just the design.
Design, it can be removed.
and then they can just be anchored down. The bases are anchored down now. That trash can's that tall, you know, and you take a normal height person and try to pull that bag out of there.
Yeah, you can stand on a ladder.
Well, even,
I giggle every time I watch the short guys pull those bags out because,
Even a short guy trying to put the trash in is
Right.
an easy task.
yeah.
I agree.
I just
they could go,
wanted to run that by you guys before we pull the bases off of it.
Good idea.
they could go on your job description, buddy. You
Good.
The tall people only.
I started out that way.
All right, need to cover.
That's it, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion
Did you want to say
second.
something, Karen?
All in favor? We are adjourned.